Yeah, that's a great way to start. Hi! Between Horizons is a sci-fi detective story game. Gorgeous pixel art in a 3D environment and really engaging puzzles. But before we get into the game, if you're new here, hi! I'm Hannah, AngrilyUwUs. I like to make video essays about games that live rent-free in my brain. Now let's get into Between Horizons. And if you like this kind of content, you know what to do. You wake up on a spaceship with over 1,000 other people on board, slowly, year by year, making your way over to ENDif, all for the mission. However, someone wants to stop the mission. But why would they do that? After all, you're Earth's last hope, right? You play as Stella, the assistant chief of security aboard the Zephyr. The Zephyr is a massive spaceship with one goal in mind: to get to a planet that can accommodate human life. Earth is kind of fucked. But at least we can find a new planet to repeat the same mistakes on, I guess. So anyways, you've been woken up by your father, who's a little bit worried about you, because apparently you've been sleeping a lot recently. He wants to show you a video recording from your mum, who is on Earth still. She did try to join you both, but her place was taken by someone else at the last second. She talks about the time she met your father on some ship called something Sparrow. Your dad has a moment of confusion. Maybe the dementia's kicking in. Exploring the spaceship, you talk to Lewis, who seems to be an awkward ex situation. I could honestly be wrong about that, but that was the vibe that I was getting. You also find Michio in the brig. He apparently wasn't doing anything illegal, just drinking and making a scene, as per usual. Oh, and speaking of making a scene as per usual, I went to Insomnia Gaming Festival recently, hence the cool jacket. Aha! Insomnia, notice me, uwu, please. And I casually dressed up as Tachanka whilst walking through Birmingham. And I just kind of want to show off my really cool cosplay and tell you to follow me on Twitter and Instagram because, you know, I actually do a lot of cosplay related stuff over there. And also I talk about my streaming stuff. Go follow me on Twitch. I'll be live again soon, I promise. Anyways, the captain alerts you of an intruder.
We have an intruder!
How did he get in? Intruder window? Bye-bye.
They apparently were in one of the holes trying to hack into the network. This is your first case. Figure out which terminal the intruder manipulated. Once you figure out who it is, you have a conversation with Aaron, who works in the hole with your dad, and then you spot them. The intruder. The intruder's wearing a mask and a hood, so it's hard to see who it is. You and your dad take aim, and well, instead of incapacitating them, a massive cargo container hits the balcony, knocking you to the ground. Your dad tries to get through the door, but due to this accident, the door is forcibly trying to close. Right on him. He tells you that your mum was sending a message. They had a code word, Sparrow, if anything had gone wrong. So anyways, you have two dads now. Oh wait, he's not a worm. Never mind, you just get a funeral instead. There's a new head of security. Talk about a nepo baby. Taking over your dad's job. Nice and cushy, you know? You have a meeting with the captain on the ship. Oh, also you and the captain decided to frame your dad's death as an accident. You know, a massive security boo-boo? Not to mention, there's clearly a group of people on the ship who are trying to do something malicious. Whilst carrying out a normal ship inspection, Lewis and the janitor have been arrested, all because the janitor has found a hidden letter and Lewis was in proximity at the time. The letter reads, "Thank you for your message. We have great sympathy for your struggle. You're not alone in thinking that more democracy is needed on the Zephyr, and our causes grow stronger every day." A new day, a new case. Time to figure out who that letter was addressed to. You have access to Lewis and the janitor's bunks. When you look in Lewis's room, you speak to his mother, Senna. Something is very wrong with her. She genuinely cannot remember anything. She doesn't even realize that, well, your dad's not quite around now. That's pretty recent. Lewis actually left a note on the door just to tell her not to go outside. I guess because he's worried about her getting lost, but mostly I think because, well, if she gets reported, then she'll be in a care home essentially. Which, space care homes probably gotta be better than Earth care homes, right? Right? From here, you're able to confront Lewis about his mother and ask him if the letter is for him. After all, this is a pretty big struggle of his mother always having to be under his watch 24/7. Lewis says that he wanted to know more, but there's clearly better ways of going about it. You can report Xena to the hospital so they'll be able to take care of so they can take care of her, but Lewis is so massively against this, and personally I'd be worried about him being radicalized by losing his mum, so I didn't actually report her. Lewis says that the contact was supposed to meet him in the Earth Museum. Anyways, I chose the wrong person here, so we're just gonna move on. So this cool cutscene, and everyone was fatally injured, and a few people are no longer alive. We find that the power has failed, so going all the way into the hull again, we start looking over the power nodes to figure out which order they went out in. After finding out which one went out first by talking to some people who I won't be mentioning again because they're literally just for this mission really, you submit your findings and decide to go back to your bunk to rest. Ava is in your room, and like a rational person, you pull a gun on her. Thankfully though, it was just a misunderstanding, and as you became the new head of security, your bunk should have actually been moved, but you haven't had the time to move your stuff over to your new room. Ava has been assigned yours since it should be clear, so you'd offer her what should be your current bunk. Oh, and Chi-Chi is gone, by the way. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention Chi-Chi. So basically, it's like this weird space cat, right? But like, not. It kind of looks like a Sprat from the Outer Worlds, which is also an amazing game that I would happily cover someday. Tell me if I should do that. Write in the comments, please. Okay, thank you. Genuinely, that my point of Chi-Chi is just, I need a plushie of this. It is cute. The captain calls on you. Apparently, someone is trying to fail the mission. The power outage was just a byproduct of them, actually turning on the engine and maneuvering the ship to change the course. The captain is clearly withholding information from you, making you become a little bit suspicious of the captain. So anyways, you talk to someone and everyone receives the same message at the same time. But the only way that this would have been possible is by them having their own private network. So someone must have their own server aboard the ship. So now you've got to track down the location of it. I'm not gonna lie, my notes here just aren't the most helpful. Instead of writing down what led us over to the navigation room, I just wrote that Orland is a cunt. Which, like, yes, but also no. So Orland, instead of cooperating with you, he tells you that you have to solve a cold case. Once this has been resolved, he'll actually talk to you. Orland, in short, was blamed for creating an explosive device. Due to this, he was dragged away from his family and forced into another section of the ship. He lost literally everything he'd ever known. And for this, I did make a few mistakes. However, I wanted to see if Ava had actually moved into what should be your bunk. And then I spotted them. Healthy looking bonsai trees. Yeah, that's not going to make any sense to you right now. You need context that I have intentionally missed out for the point of writing my script this way out. So the context here, the explosive had chemicals that could only have been obtained by the farmers, but one of them had actually been giving away these chemicals for years. But of course, when we actually get down there, well, he's become fertilizer because he's been gone for about 2 years. The janitor from earlier, she really loves roses. So when you ask her about the fertilizer, well, she says that she actually begged the farmers for some. When Zephyr had launched initially, the janitor had taken on a bonsai tree. And, well, she begged the farmers for fertilizer, but they just wouldn't budge. So she spent the first year aboard watching this bonsai tree slowly wilt and die. However, your father had a perfect and healthy bonsai tree, not to mention he was the person who actually closed this case. So your father must have been the culprit. You submit your father as the real suspect. You talk to Orlan, and he honestly seems like a chill guy. I mean, I kind of understand the anger behind this now. It does make a lot of sense. But the reason why I called him a cunt specifically, before getting here, you've been told that you have 24 hours to solve whoever has done this and locked everyone out of the main systems. Otherwise, Zephyr will be off course and going for a different planet. Orland reveals that he saw the hacker that was in the navigator room. Apparently the person was a man. That's the only real lead that you have here. So it's time to go around the ship and just ping this server and figure out where it is. I got this wrong because I didn't fully understand what I was doing. So we're gonna go ahead and skip this part. Once you submit your findings, you hit a wall and have another look around the navigation room. There's some medication on the floor. It's for Simon, a teacher on board. To be honest, this puzzle actually required a Discord call where I actually jumped the gun and chose the wrong person. I really liked this puzzle, and so did my friends actually. You have to go around and ask people what medication they're on, such as Elliot, a small child with an illness, being on the ship, Aaron, the tech guy from earlier who got smacked up the head, and Xena, who was taking medication for her brain that isn't really braining. Once you submit your answer, you head up to the captain's office. The captain and Orland are having an extremely heated conversation. Clearly the captain is hiding something, and Orland is able to control her with some secrets. Paul sends you a message to go to the laboratory, but when you get there, Paul is nowhere to be found. You walk around and find yourself trapped in a contamination chamber. I'm not really sure what this room is, but Michio has trapped you in here, and as per usual, he is sloshed. Bro is spilling his guts, just a little bit. He says some kind of rude stuff, but most importantly, he then mentions how he doesn't want a kid. He doesn't want to work at the museum like his dad did, and heads off to do some errands, whatever that might be. You have a bit of a dramatic moment where you shoot the control panel for the door, which lets you escape, just as Michio comes back. You point the gun on him and ask him to surrender. He literally weighs up his options in front of you, and then decides to charge at you. You shoot him and he falls to the floor. You lay in bed, blaming yourself for what happened. Paul has had to drag you to the captain's office. You have 4 hours left now to figure out who the hell has done all of this. You have no real leads, so it's time to just guess and see what happens. So I actually chose your dad's. Like, he's done some other suspicious things, and it's not exactly like he's gonna deal with any negative repercussions since he's, you know, fertilizer now. You join the captain and most of the characters I've actually spoken about in this funky room. The network engineers have found their way back into the system, so whoever you pinned doesn't really matter, but oh no, the rebel dudes are wanting to come up and stop you. Who could have seen that coming? So anyways, Lewis, Ava, the ghost of Michio, and the rest of the gang shows up, and finally it's revealed. There's another planet that everybody is heading towards, provided the ship isn't stopped in its current trajectory. So why wasn't this really common knowledge? Well, you see, Earth has developed a way to terraform and make planets habitable for human life, which only the captain knew about. So until this was revealed, well, we knew we were heading towards this planet, but we didn't know that it was actually habitable. The rebels are just wanting some democracy, and think that everybody on board should be able to vote towards the planet they want to head towards. Eurus, which will take a few generations, or Otis, which will only take a few years. The captain and Ava go around in circles, and this is kind of the moment where I cheered Ava on a little bit. Like, genuinely, the captain was really annoying me at this point in time, because it was like talking to a brick wall that just didn't want to hear her out at all. So like, seriously, the captain seemed like a right twat. And thankfully, Ava shoots the captain. Oh no, anyways, you decide if everyone should get a vote or not. Ava takes over and says that you should actually be in charge. Oh, and the captain didn't make it after becoming Swiss cheese. Oh no, anyways, you head over towards this new planet with the vote in place. Your mum says that she's proud of you for figuring this out, because that's what her code meant all along. That, well, they're not telling you everything that they should be on board. The end. Shame your dad was a dick though, am I right? Starting off with the art, I absolutely love the art within this game. The 2D pixel art in a 3D environment means that the developers could have some gorgeous camera angles. I really love how at the end the camera pans up through the ship and straight into space. It is really well done. I love this shot so much. The captain seemed interesting, although I never found out her deep dark secret, so if you want to know more about that, I guess it's time for you to play this game for yourself. I really liked the music. Provided YouTube doesn't flag it, I'll have been using the OST as background music as per usual, so tell me what you think of it. As much as I've enjoyed the story in this game, I found that the pacing was dreadful. The minor crimes at the start really didn't pull me in, and then all the exciting events happen right at the very end of the game. Michio being shot, of all people, honestly I really wasn't expecting that. With the twist that they were rebelling against the establishment and just wanted to have more of a vote. I found that to be very interesting. I feel like some of the information should have been revealed sooner, and I did try to talk to Orland about the captain's dirty laundry, but he didn't really care. I feel like this game had a very slow start and it was hard to get into due to that, but if you can power your way through, I found the ending to be really interesting. I feel like none of the choices really affected anything though. Lewis, for example, I made sure not to hand his mother over into the space care home, and yet at the end he was still with Ava, so it's almost like handing Xena over doesn't really do anything. There was also another time as well where somebody was like begging for medication for their pet, just as, you know, everybody kind of got massively injured on board, and I actually said that no, you can't have it, it should be for people only. That never got brought up again, and I feel like it should have. Like, maybe, I honestly was expecting like Chi-Chi to get injured or something, and then it's like, oh well, are you gonna be a bit of a hypocrite and allow this medication to be used on yourself? But it doesn't, so it's like, well, that's a bit weird. At the very end of the game as well, you get the option to let Chi-Chi live life around the ship or trapped in your room, since she spent a good chunk of this game actually trying to sort of run around and really just wanted to sort of have her time by herself, I guess. And she clearly did a good job because she's not dead. The bare minimum. So you get the option to let Chi-Chi live life around the ship or trapped in your room, which at the very end doesn't really mean anything. I mean, I feel like this game should have been more of a visual novel than sold as a game where your choices really matter, which generally is a bit of a gripe that I have with this sort of genre. I'm looking at you specifically, Life is Strange. Oh my gosh, the disdain that I have for that game is unmeasurable. I did have a lot of fun playing this game, and I would really like to see a DLC, especially if it was from Ava's perspective. I found her to be a bit more interesting than Stella, to be quite honest. Like, Ava seems to, I don't know, I like her vibe, I like her energy way more, and I found that, like, Stella was, like, more, yeah, she's, like, level-headed, but, like, traditional, if that makes sense. So, for example, right, the whole vibe that they've got is that the second you hit 35, you have to have a kid. I don't really want a child though. Tough luck, you're having a child now. Congratulations on this upgrade to your fucking terrible quality of life. So that was like thing one. Thing two, if your dad is a caretaker, hey, guess what your job's gonna be when you grow up? You're gonna be a caretaker. If you don't want it, too bad. Hence Michio and being historian in the museum. He didn't want to do it. Fair enough. You should get a bit more choice, to be honest. I don't know, I just side with Ava more than Stella. Stella's just kind of yeah. And yeah, I'm still pretty glad that Ava shot the captain. Also, do you remember that one time where your dad was a dick? I'm not over that. I'm actually really annoyed about that. Justice for all and my dudes. Thank you for watching the video. Please give it a like if you want to see more content like this from me. Hit the subscribe button, and please tell me what your favourite part about Between Horizons is. Hopefully I'll see you next time. Take care of yourself. Bye.